Good afternoon. My name's Beth Sears, and I own Workplace Communication Incorporated. And I come to you with a diverse background. I actually spent 30 years at General Motors, and I got just shy of maybe 4 years before I retired, and I said to my husband, you know, what would you think if I went back to school? And he said, why? Why now? And I said, it just feels like my work isn't done. So I went back to school, went to UB, got a PhD in communication, and opened Workplace Communication Incorporated. And one of the things that I found out running a consulting and coaching business is that people really look at how you appear, how you show up. It means a lot. So what I'm going to talk about today is impression management, your key to employment. And I truly believe that. My objectives today are to really create an awareness for you about what constitutes first impressions. Secondly, develop an understanding of things that we very often take for granted, and yet they really go into the composite that is formed when somebody looks at you, sees you, hears you. And finally, create a plan to make changes which will enhance the perception you leave. How's that sound? Is that okay? I started without you.
Okay.
Okay.
I let you agree to rock.
There you go. This isn't my first rodeo. First impressions. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. How long do you have to make a first impression? How long do you think? 30 seconds? Anybody else? Less than 5. Less than 5? Anybody else? 3. 3 seconds. 3 seconds is all you have to make a first impression. What if you told them about yourself? Maybe hello and your name, but you really haven't had the opportunity to tell them anything about yourself. So what does communicate to them? Body language, good. What else? Appearance? Let's put some of those things up. So your body language, appearance, what else? Confidence. Heather? Scent. Oh, scent. Anything else?
Your voice, enthusiasm.
Great. Awesome.
Not sure how this fits in there, but hopefully you showed up on time.
Aha. Good, great. Does that pretty much sum it up? Well, we're going to go through some things today, and maybe we'll add to that list. But everything comes together all at once when a person sees you and kind of forms an opinion for them. Much like you did when you walked in the room and looked at me. What's she going to be like? She's going to be boring. She's stuffy. You know, who is she? And that's what you need to do when you walk in and let them know from the minute you walk in the door who you are and what you have to offer. First impressions. The answer lies in part in how the brain takes a first impression Polaroid, creating a composite of all signals given off by a new experience. Psychologists agree that a snap judgments are a holistic phenomenon in which clues, a mellifluous soft voice, Rolex watch, soggy handshake, hunched shoulders, hit us all at once and form an impression larger than the sum. So it's no one thing that forms that first impression. It's a lot of things that come together. What do people see when they see you in a first capacity, when they see the clothes you're wearing? What is it about the clothes you're wearing? Absolutely. Are they neat? Are they clean? Let's see, neat, clean, fit, style.
Do they feel comfortable in that? Or they look like they're
Anything else?
Colors and textures. That's the first thing. Everything else.
Textures? No. Okay, we'll do this. If I miss anything, just take it from there and put it in. What else about your clothing or what you wear? Think. Sure. It's important no matter what you're wearing, isn't it? Anything else? The truth of the matter, if it's all coming together, does your outfit come together?
Appropriate for the situation.
That is true, too. How do you find out what's appropriate to wear at a particular organization? You can ask. What else?
look online at their website.
Look online. Good. What else? Exactly. Start time. When people are leaving, just take a look. And then just dress a tad bit better. Tad bit better, but still appropriate. But it's important that the whole look comes together, isn't it? That they make sure that when they look at you, that they see a put-together person. Why? You're projecting an image, but what does it say about you? Organized, not disheveled. What else? Confident, put together. All of those things go into the impression that you leave. And so it's important that you really think through, what am I wearing, how does it all fit together, and is this the image that I'm trying to portray? Good. Okay, what do people think the first time they see your shoes? Uh-oh, I hear, uh-oh, uh-oh. No, men look at other men's shoes. Yeah. Yeah, attention to detail. Absolutely. The head of personnel at General Motors was a good friend of mine, and so I used to stop over and see him every once in a while in the morning if I had something to run him by. He was constantly in there, first thing, polishing his shoes. Polishing his shoes. Absolutely. And in this weather, it gets a little crazy, but yet just pay attention to it. So what is it about shoes? Attention to detail. Need to be appropriate. Say more about that. I was going to say, stilettos don't look like you, just from a first glance. That was the old you. But have you ever seen somebody, I saw a woman walking in these shoes. She goes, don't you love these shoes? And they were, I'm not kidding you, a wedge this high with a cutout. And she walked like this. And I thought, oh my heavens, not only does she not look comfortable, she certainly doesn't look stylish no matter what the shoes look like. So that's another thing. Anything else about shoes? Do they fit? And very often, if you're going into a manufacturing firm, you need closed-toed shoes. So just, and non-conductive sole, whatever that means. There you go, non-conductive soles. Don't give off sparks. But just by having those things in place, instead of walking in and saying, oh, I got sandals on. Oh, well, then it becomes a problem. And when you look at these things, very often that problem might be transferred to you. Maybe not. Maybe it's no big deal, but for some people it is. So it's just a mindset. Pay attention to those things. How about when people, women, when they look at your makeup? Can it be an issue? It can be a big issue. I came to one of these fairs maybe 5 years ago, and I was heading in to get something to eat, and a woman came out, and she had penciled in these eyebrows over her eyebrows. And I greeted her, and it was like, really? Yes, but that takes away. You want them to focus on your face, but in a good way. You know, so subtle makeup, you know, just go easy. Guys, go easy on the lip gloss. Oh, no, never mind. Jewelry, for both men and women. What are considerations about jewelry?
Not to be too loud and too much.
Too much, exactly. Anything else? Right. I was on Channel 21 once when I was working at General Motors, and I had a necklace longer, similar to this, and every time I leaned forward to the microphone, it went clunk. Never even thought of it. Never even knew. Well, I didn't study communication back then either.
Remember the famous one many years ago, Barbara Walters? She had a big beaded necklace and kept rattling against the microphone.
Okay.
And we talked about it for weeks.
Right. And it's just thinking things through. And it's not to become paranoid. Please, folks, don't become paranoid about it, but it's just considerations. Considerations to help you come across even more as a professional that you are. How about hair? Neat. Not wild. And clean. Presentable. Haircut, you know. Pay attention to those things. I told you about that. More than ever, people are using clothing to communicate. And you are communicating who you are and what you have to offer just by how you show up. So with that in mind, what do people see the first time they see you walk? Think about it. How do you walk into a room? Do you walk in like this? Or do you walk in like this, shoulders back, smiling? Little difference, isn't there? But it projects something very different. So just think about it when you walk in, you know, stand up straight, shoulders back, smile, walk forward, smiling, hand extended, you know, just to help them understand, because as I believe you said, confidence. When you think of a confident person, how do they walk? How do they stand? You know, is it like this or is it like this? And quite truthfully, there's a whole mindset around being in transition, and sometimes it plays with our head, doesn't it? You go through interviews and you think you got the job or you think you did a great job, and then you don't get the call, and then it happens again. And part of the reason is there are so many people looking. So many people. But what tends to happen is what is going on here oozes out of every pore in your body. So before you go into that interview, you really have to check up here. If you walk in saying, you know, they're probably not going to hire me either, it will affect how you stand, it'll affect how you walk, it'll affect how you answer questions, it'll affect everything about you. And so check in to see what you're saying to yourself regarding this job. One of the things that I suggest that people do is take a look at all the jobs that you've had, or whatever. More importantly, all the projects you've worked on, or all of your accomplishments. Put together a portfolio. Think about what you did, how you did it, what the outcome was, what the savings were, and put it in a portfolio. And before you walk into that interview, just kind of leaf through it. Remind yourself. And that'll help in two different areas. It'll help you realize you've got a lot to offer for that organization. They would be darn lucky to have you. And it also kind of trips your memory so that when you're communicating with them, you can just weave it in the conversation. Don't do a data dump. You know, I did, no. That reminds me of the time I worked on a project at XYZ Corporation, and we were lucky because we were able to. And also, I'm not sure what Rochester Works teaches, but I saw a friend who had lost her job, and she showed me her resume, and I said it was just like job responsibilities. And I said, well, did you have any results? She goes, well, I increased sales at the bank 17%. You think that might be an interesting fact to let them know? But it wasn't on her resume. So take a look at your posture. You know, ready posture means just kind of being on the balls of your feet. Instead of back like this, be like this. You know, when you walk, when you do anything, just kind of glide into the room. Hand extended, smile, and help them to understand who you are. Move away from barriers. I've actually seen people lean up against things. So you have to be careful of that. People appraise your visual and behavioral appearance from head to toe. They observe your demeanor, mannerisms, and body language, and even assess your grooming and accessories, watch, handbag, briefcase. Within only 3 seconds, you make an indelible impression. 3 seconds. Who are these people? Who are they? Who's the gentleman on the left? Male model? Possibly. Who else? He's coming for an interview. Who is he? Businessman?
He's the one you're going to hire.
What are his capabilities?
He knows how to dress. He knows how to stand. He knows how to eye contact. He's got all these intangibles.
Yeah.
You can see his mind here, too. Look at his eyes. He's sharp. He's present in the moment. He's focused.
Good. Determined. Good. What else? Confident.
He's an athlete.
He's an athlete? How are his capabilities? Is he a capable individual? It appears to be, doesn't it? It appears to be. Who's the other gentleman? He's coming in for an interview. Who is he?
He doesn't really care if he gets the job or not. It doesn't seem like he's really interested in going into the interview.
Okay, what tells you that? Hmm.
He doesn't act professional. It's almost like he's on his way to the airport.
Okay, okay. You had your hand up, John?
Well, he's very casual. He's being very friendly. I can still see in his eyes he's got a mind behind his head.
Okay.
But
Depends on the culture.
it's just the culture. He's not stiff. He's very loose.
Mm-hmm.
And where he's standing, that doesn't look like a professional man.
It does kind of look like a bathroom, doesn't it?
He
Must be
fit
in
right
Sweden.
He fit right in Southern California.
Yeah, he would.
That's the way they want you to dress.
Right.
They want you flip-flops.
So it does mean it has something to do from the culture, but that's not the purpose of this exercise. I want you to start thinking of how they appear to you. You know, out of these two, who's more capable?
Fellow on the left.
Well, you can't tell, but very often people will make a perception. I showed, well, I'll tell you at the end. So it's just to keep that in mind. How about these two ladies? Who are they? Okay. Who are they? Are they capable? Are they professional? Do they do a good job? You know, for some people, it might be a moot point, but for others, they will look at that and they will determine that one person is more capable than the other based on what they see. Not even necessarily what's on the resume. And by the way, resume, 80% of getting a job has to do with what's on the resume. Interpersonal skills are 75% of keeping it and doing well. So it's not enough to get in the door. It's how do you get along. Have you ever worked at a place where there's somebody who is so smart, but nobody wanted to work with him or her? What was it like to be around them? Taxing. Kind of sucks the energy out of the room. You know, so it's not enough to be smart, and it's not enough to know your stuff. You've got to have that interpersonal, the emotional intelligence piece to bring it together. So who are these individuals, any of them?
Almost like I don't know what's going on with that handshake that's going on the right. He's got his like that just completely threw me off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the guy that's standing next to him, that smile doesn't seem genuine.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Okay. How about these two?
A little apprehensive.
Little apprehensive? What else? What would they benefit from?
A smile.
A smile? What else? A little more confidence?
The woman on the right actually, she looks tired.
Hmm.
You know, like perhaps she's going through something. I don't know. She looks tired. A bit of a makeover.
A bit of a makeover? Yeah. The whole point is, you know, we're putting meaning to this and we don't know who they are at all. And others, we all do it. Every single one of us do it. We walk down the mall and we see somebody walking towards us and we think we know who they are. When I was at General Motors, I worked as an employee assistance professional for 17 years. And one of the employees came in and told me that her son was having a drug issue and would I help him. And I said, absolutely. But she didn't even get out of that out of her mouth, and she started telling me, but I need to tell you about my other two sons. One went to Brown, one went to Harvard, one's a doctor, I don't know what happened to this guy, you know. And so I met him for his evaluation. And she says, I want to warn you, he's a little different. And I figured it was him coming when I heard the chains hitting the floor as he came around the corner. And he had ivory tusks in his ears and piercings everywhere and chains on his pants. And he was one of the most delightful young men I've ever met in my life. Truly. But if you look at the package, you wouldn't ever get to know that. You know, I'm a sick Presbyterian, you'll have to forgive me, but I always wanted to put him behind a screen because he read the Bible I don't know how many times, and have him talk about his mindset, then walk down the center aisle and watch all the people fall out. But isn't it true? We don't know who people are, but we put a lot of merit on what they're wearing. As in this case, or possibly this case. Although they're extremes, they make a difference. You were talking about smiles, and absolutely. How many people have a good smile? Actually, only a third of the people have a good smile that comes across as confident and real. A third of us have a neutral smile, and a third of us have an intense smile.
Yeah, but doesn't it kind of go with the situation? Because if you're more comfortable around certain people, you're more capable of having that natural smile.
Sure.
Than if you're in a different where you don't really know the situation, you don't know the room of people, so you kind of have a, okay, yeah, I know I'm supposed to smile, but.
Absolutely, that's true, but understand the purpose of this is to let you know that that communicates as well. And I do have a family member who smiles like this. And I said, Forrest, it's cheesy, honey. Just smile. And then he'll just smile. But those things count. Phony smiles don't work. How about the personality factor? We talked a bit about that. How important is that? Say more.
Different places where you work have different personalities. Employer needs to figure out who you are as a person and if you fit in with the culture.
You fit. One of the things that I do in my business is I've actually researched great places to work across the United States. And one of the places I visited was Zappos Shoes. How many people are familiar with Zappos? Well, I knew the women would be. But Zappos is this wild culture, you know, it's kind of out there. It's nothing for people to get up during the middle of the day and have a train, and, you know, a parade through the place of business. And we were there in March of 2009, I believe, during the recession. It was crazy. And we walked into the organization, and first of all, everybody sat side by side in open cubicles. And the CEOs and all the leadership team, they had bananas and monkeys hanging down, and somebody else had a tiki bar as their motif. And you think, is this crazy or what? Well, the day before, in the middle of the biggest recession, they had sold $2 million in shoes. So is it working for them? Yes, it's working for them. They told me they put far more merit on whether or not the person will fit in the culture than anything. They have turned away resumes that were brilliant based on their feeling that the person would not fit in the organization. And they actually go through 4 weeks, at least when I was there. It may have changed because they've made some changes. 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks, they taught them about the values of the organization, what it stood for, and a lot about the culture. At the end of 2 weeks, does anybody know what they do? They offer them, at the time, it was $3,000 to leave. To leave. And they have an on-site coach, or they had an on-site coach, and he said, we feel it's an investment. because if they take the money, they didn't belong here anyway. The next week, they send them out to, it used to be, they now have an in-house distribution center, but it used to be in Kentucky. And they sent the people to Kentucky and gave them a tour of the place. They met everybody they talked to on the phone. They did the job so they knew when they called up exactly what they were asking people to do. And the people there then came to Las Vegas so that they knew what things were. And the last week, they were put on the phones, and they were given the same credibility to give away a free pair of shoes if they thought it was merited. And that's their first 4 weeks there. But that's because they hire for cultural fit. So understand that when you go for your interviews, they may be looking at you as far as your skill set goes, but they may also be looking at you and saying, is this individual going to fit in our organization? So personality, people will buy your ideas more likely if they like you. So connect with the person on an emotional level as well. And very often when you go into these interviews, we're nervous, aren't we? You really want the job and you go in there. Well, nerves will affect your tone of voice. Very often, if you're uptight, you'll be saying, you know, instead of saying, well, at my last position, you'd be saying, at my last position, a little difference, but it does make a difference. So just kind of breathe and relax and go in there and look through that portfolio and know you have something to offer, and then just walk in there and take it by storm, but be yourself, but connect to people on an emotional level. You know, smile, try to connect with them. Does that make sense? And find your nervous gestures. Hands should fall naturally by your side, but sometimes when we're nervous, they don't. Certainly.
Where do you put them when you're sitting? Should they,
Yeah, in your lap or on the table or whatever. Sometimes you might want to mirror the person who's interviewing you. If they have it on the table, you put them on the table. Okay? Are there any questions about any of the things we've talked about so far? Nothing? What do people think the first time they see your car? Please don't look inside.
Mine was called the sticker mobile.
The sticker mobile.
I had a minivan, the whole entire back was covered.
There you
with
go.
bumper stickers.
There you go. Does it make a difference? Do you know, and Annie, maybe you can help me. I have been told that some organizations walk the person out to see what their car is like. Not necessarily the style that it is. What does it look like? Why? Why would they do that?
I have a friend that has a heating business, very large one in the area. And while you're interviewing with his son, after his wife has greeted you, he's looking at your car. He doesn't care how old it is, okay? He cares how clean it is, because you have to remember that if you're going to treat your car well, you're going to treat his trucks well, which are his advertisement, and you're going to go inside and you're going to do installation in his customers. So that's a reason, and he keeps a sustained workforce. They very rarely leave. He's had one person leave in 20 years. So you're right. I mean, it's not a you know a scam. People will do that. You do the same thing.
Sure. Have you ever had, one time I decided I was going to get a deal and have my rugs cleaned. I called this, there was an advertisement in the paper or something, and the guy pulled in and his truck was so bad. I said, from the minute I'm standing in the window, I'm trying to think what to do. You've asked him to come, you know. And he came in the house, and he was a wreck himself physically as far as his clothing and everything. Didn't look clean. And he's going to clean my furniture? And the truck was a mess. It was rusty. It was old. And he started to do it, and it was a mess. And I just said, please stop. And I paid him for his time, and he left. And I will never do that again. I will never do that again. But all of that communicates. Do you see how I did that? The minute he pulled in the driveway, I started putting together my composite of who he was and how good a job he would do. Just from that. What do people say the first time they see the pen you're using? And it doesn't need to be a fancy. You can buy a cross pen for $20. You can get even, oops, nope, I don't have it. You can buy a pen that's very attractive and looks good. I actually have some that I just picked up. They were $5, but they have a wood look to them. I went to a craft show this winter and ended up buying pens for a lot of the people that I had worked with during the year. And they were lovely, and they were made out of this imported wood. And they were like $12 or something like that. And one of the things that people don't understand, you know, you pull out your Bic that's chewed on the end or something, that's part of the composite that they're putting together. And it, well, if that's all you've got, and how many pens do you need to have? At least 2, if not 3. There's nothing worse than, oh, you know, just have it and just smoothly. What I tell people is make very sure that when you walk in, you know where everything is. So I pull off to the side. Before I go to a new consulting job, I pull off to the side, and I take out my portfolio, and I check it. Do I have my pens? Do I have the paperwork? I had a meeting this morning, so here's my paperwork. I had a pen I pulled out to show you. I should have left it here. Are my business cards here? Do I have a full pad of paper? Is everything where I know it? Why would I want to do that?
Because you look frantic. It doesn't look very good when you're like, oh my God, where did I put this? Ruffling through to try and find it.
Right. And do things sometimes go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't panic about it. Don't panic. Now it's time for true confessions. When I first became a consultant, I pulled over to the side of the road, as I told you I did, and checked for everything. I had the proposal, I had my pens, I had my cards, I had everything. I knew where it was. And I was about 5 minutes from the place, and I pull into the parking spot, and something didn't feel quite right. And when I had pulled over, I had noticed I had my grandchildren with me. And there's a car seat, and there's a sucker and sucker wrappers and everything. And I said, okay. So I open the trunk, and I throw everything in. I don't even know if I wrapped the sucker up. It might have just gone south. Who knows, you know? So I pull in, and I get out, and my rear tire's flat. So I call my husband. I said, honey, I got a flat tire. Can you come help me? Go in, and it was a small family business. I was speaking to 3 individuals. Spoke to the first owner. Very nicely, went very well. He was very impressed. He came out. Second one came in. He came out. And the woman started to come in, and the first guy came back, and as soon as they opened the door, I heard, will the owner of the black... Oh, no. So I went out, and I said, it's my car, but not to worry. I said, I've got it taken care of. I really do. My husband's going to come. And so when that was the first time people changed, when they came back the third time, the first guy came in. He goes, listen, I'm not going to leave you stranded. Nobody's come yet to help you. I said, that's okay. No, I got a mechanic here. He's here for another half hour. Let me take care of it for you. Let me take care of it. And I said, okay, that's fine. Thank you. That's very kind. as I'm walking to my car, where's the spare? What else is in the trunk? Suckers, car seats, everything. And I got about there and I went, what are you going to do? Now, I could have, but I just said, you know, I had my grandkids, it's full of car seats, but give me a second and I'll get it out of your way. And you just go with it. You just go with it. But stuff's going to happen. But just stay together. You know, very often people run into something and they'll be running in and they'll, oh, I'm sorry. What does that communicate? Yeah. Let me see. It's here somewhere. Just a sec. Yes. Everything you do communicates. So it's just about, you know, taking your time, relaxing, knowing it's all good. I also used to teach interviewing at Brockport. And one of the things I did when I was having them go through practice interviews was in the middle of their interview, all of a sudden I'd go, oh. And then I'd go back to the interview, and the person would start going nuts. What did I say? What? And then I'd pull a 5x7 card out of my pocket that said, I just realized I forgot to sign my son's permission slip, so he won't be able to attend his event at school. When somebody makes a nonverbal gesture like that, you have no idea what it's about. It might be about you, but all it does is give you the clue to ask more questions. Is there anything I could say to help you clarify that? Did you have all the information? Just ask some questions. Don't panic. It might have nothing to do with you. But just stay calm and say, is there any information I could give you that would help you understand that situation? Okay? Briefcase or portfolio. Again, make sure it's all together. Make sure it looks good. You know, you can pick up a very reasonable thing that makes you look very professional walking in. You know, may I? Something like this, you know, holds a pad of paper, a pen. Something like this has place for cards and everything. You know, I didn't carry this when I started my business, but something like this, you know, once again, everything communicates. How about your business cards? What's important about your business cards? They're not bent, they're not dinged. What else? Not written on?
They have appropriate information.
Appropriate information? Pardon me?
They're correct.
They're correct. Anything else? Easy to read. Is there a way to raise your game at all?
I was told to put your picture on it, your actual photo on it. People will feel guilty about throwing it away because they have that image of you.
Really?
Think about it.
I get them on a little heavier cardstock. Doesn't cost much more. A little heavier. You hand them the card, it feels different. It feels different. It's all about the impression. It shouldn't look like you used the card as a coaster in the bar the last time you went. I mean, make sure. I got mine done and there was ever so slightly a white stripe on the side. I took them back. Took the ones back and they reprinted them. Everything communicates. When I first opened my business in 2009, I went and I got letterhead, envelopes, business cards. They did a beautiful business card with this lovely color teal. And I went to pick up my letterhead and my envelopes, and they were royal blue. And I was building a brand. And so I said, I can't use that. And they said, you didn't say you wanted them the same color. I said, I walked in here and said, I really don't know anything about this. I need to put together a brand image. And they said, well, we'll sell them to you for half price. I said, if I could use them, I would have paid you full price. So what they ended up doing, not these cards, but printing them over in the royal blue. So my colors became royal blue and green instead of teal. But all of those things really go towards painting a picture of who you are. What about if you call them by name? Is that good? Very often, names are tricky, aren't they? So you can call and ask somebody, ask for the person, or ask who's the head of personnel and hear how they pronounce it. And that'll give you an idea, and then write it out phonetically. What do people think the first time they hear you speak? Are you talking like this? Are you talking like this? Is there a confident air in your voice? How about the first time they see you engage somebody? Very often, has anybody ever had an interview over a meal? Yeah. A lot of people lose jobs at the dinner table based on their manners. And based on what else? How they eat, what else?
How they treat the waitress.
How they talk to the waitress and the help. And that I've got in the next slide. What would that tell them about how you handle tough situations? Your steak came well instead of rare. I can't eat this. Or, excuse me, I ordered this rare. Would you mind? Whole different mindset. So the first time they see you in a group conversation, what might be the issues there?
See how well you communicate with everybody else.
Okay, good.
Treat the other people as well.
What else?
Whether you participate in the conversation.
Yes? Or
Dominate the conversation.
whether you dominate the conversations and don't let anybody else have a word in edgewise. All of those things you're filling your 3 seconds with. And this is first time they see you interact with a waiter or waitress, first time they see you at a cocktail party. If you are invited to a cocktail party and it's part of an interview, what should you be drinking?
Water.
Yes. Soda water, tonic, I don't care. You should not be drinking booze. Should not be drinking alcohol. First time they see you eat, we've covered those. How about handshakes? How important are they? When you walk off, hi.
Hi.
You grab the person like this, shake 1 or 2 times, and then let go. Have you ever had somebody either crush your hand or not stop shaking or shake it like this? Yes.
The employer gives you a very light handshake.
I've had them do that.
Yeah.
I had it upstairs, and I just felt like I crushed the lady's hand.
Well, it's about, it's a game of judgment. You know what I mean? It's not a game, but it's just judgment. If somebody comes up with a very weak handshake, I certainly wouldn't break their knuckles. But a firm, confident handshake communicates. Another thing, they may have something physically wrong with them. They may have something.
As soon as I feel that theirs is like really light, then I lighten it.
Good
I
point.
don't like it when I get the really big.
Oh, neither do I. Neither do I.
Ow.
And you also don't want to shake hands like this. That's dominant, or this is submissive. So just a nice handshake, 2 or 3 shakes. First time the phone rings when you're talking with them. Your phone.
I always turn mine off.
Exactly. It should be. It should be. Does it ever end up being on? Sometimes. What do? Apologize and shut it off. Unless sometimes I've had instances where I was interviewing for an assistant, and she came in and she said, I need to apologize right up front. She said, my sister is not well at all, and we're waiting for a call. Would you mind if I left my phone on? And I said, absolutely. So phone shouldn't be ringing, text shouldn't be on. First time you have a phone conversation with them, it's hard sometimes because you want them to know about you. Be careful not to talk over them. Be careful not to talk over them. And finally, table manners. When I opened my business, is anybody familiar with Alan Weiss? Alan Weiss, yeah, he's a high-end consultant, and I decided I was going to get some skill building, and I Googled starting a consulting business, and of course Alan popped up. And so I sent him an email, Dear Dr. Weiss, I'm new, blah, 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 blah. Sent the email. 15 minutes later, I'm sitting in my office, and the phone rings, and I pick it up. He goes, Alan Weiss, can I help you? Huh? And I joined his consulting program. He coached me. I actually went to his consultants university. So you go there and you think, what am I going to learn? What he taught us was this: professional image consulting. What he taught us was table manners. I was in shock. We did have days of, how to consult, but he said, you have no idea how important that is. More contracts are lost at the dinner table than any place else. So this is what he did. He actually brought people in. People would stand up and show what they were dressed as, and she'd say, you need to change that. That's great, not so good there. It was unbelievable. What do people see when they see your resume? I just left Staples, and I saw a young woman in there, and I bet she was coming here. She's not in this room, so I feel safe to say it. And she came to get copies of her resume. And the resume, the original, was all wet. And I thought to myself, oh, put it in a folder, anything. It was all wet, so you knew it wouldn't copy straight. People, how long do you have for somebody to look at your resume? Annie, how long, do you know? 8 to 10 seconds. So you want it to shine. I had a friend show me her resume the other day, and it was just like a list of every place she worked. There was no white space. There was no... All of those things count. This is key. What do people think when they look at your LinkedIn or Facebook profile? Almost every single organization that is hiring goes there to see if you're there. What are they going to think when they see you? One young man that called me and said he couldn't get a job, I looked at his Facebook page, and it's him with a bottle of booze like this. Occupation, underwater basket weaver. Come on. I'm going to recant this just so you remember. People appraise your visual and behavioral appearance from head to toe. They observe your demeanors, mannerisms, and body language, and even your grooming and accessories. Watch, handbag, briefcase. Within only 3 seconds, you make an indelible impression. Before, when I started, I came walking through the crowd, and there were some people, and you mentioned it early on, that their body odor wasn't very good. That's going to communicate to people. So it really is a package deal. So don't get crazy about it, but just pay attention to the details. Make sure you look put together. Think through what you want to wear. Look up what colors communicate. Blues and greens, people trust more people who are dressed in blues and greens. You know, just take a look at all of those things and just hedge your bet. But you have so much to offer. Don't let your mind get in the way. Just start thinking about what you have to offer and go for it. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Now, I always give away a free coaching session. So I'm going to pass around. I forgot my small basket, and so they gave me a box. I'm going to pass around this box. Anybody who wants to get into it, I'm going to have a drawing right here. And if you want to get, and I'll also send you my new newsletter, which has tips for improving interpersonal and organizational communication. If you want to get in the drawing and you don't want the newsletter, just write no newsletter on your thing. So if you want to get in, just pass that around and I'll answer questions in the meantime. Are there any questions? No questions? Have you come up against any difficult scenarios interviewing that you would like to talk about?
I always, like, my last job I was dismissed from, and it really wasn't the right place for me anyway. But it's always, I'm way self-conscious, so and I had a really hard time knowing exactly how to say why I left, you know, what happened to the last position.
Okay, don't ever talk down your former boss. Don't ever talk down your former boss. And just say, you know, it wasn't a good cultural fit for me. And we decided it was in both our best interest for me to look elsewhere and for them as well. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of an appropriate photograph for a LinkedIn profile
Oh, good.
in relationship to the career you're doing or the field you're going in?
In relationship to the career, that might be more with what the dress is for that thing, and just neat, put together a headshot, just nice. You know, not you with your puppy or a picture of your child or anything like that. And, you know, I have 10 grandchildren. I mean, I love my grandchildren dearly, but what you're trying to do is paint the picture about who you are. So I would say get a nice professional headshot. They aren't that much. They really aren't. And put it out there, put it on your card, put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your Facebook, whatever. But I would do that. I would see how people dress in the target population that you're trying to get a job in, and then put it together that way. Anything else? Sure.
I found a company online that has the culture that I'm really looking for. But they're very, like, family-oriented, very active. It's very kind of out of the norm. So it wouldn't be a bureaucracy for it kind of thing.
Right.
So I'd like to send them a letter saying that I came across them. I'd really like to work for them. Send them my resume and tell them why their website caught my eye.
I think that, Annie, maybe you could, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, you know, I learned about your company and I was really excited. And just tell them, I really, are they local? Yes. I would walk in. I'd get dressed up, I'd walk in, I'd say, you know, I just wanted to come in and see if you had 5 minutes. I was so impressed by what I learned about your company that I really wanted to know more.
Please. Oh, an email
I mean,
address.
you know, can you imagine?
Yeah, they may not even be hiring, but
it's not about hiring. People are gonna hire you when they know who you are and what you do. So it's really getting in there and letting them know you. Okay, that's what today's all about. It's letting employers know that you're as good as we've been telling them you are. And so them looking, and they may not have something for you now, but they've met somebody face to face. And now they're going to be able to put a name there. And just like Beth said, and like we talked about this morning, if you were here this morning with us, Rita talked about it, it's been a consistent theme in this room today. Companies are hiring for people that are confident, enthusiastic, and want to work for them. They can teach you skills. They can't teach you attitude. And that attitude comes out in the first impressions. That's why we had Beth come in. That's why we had Rita come in. That's why we had a panel. So, you know, I definitely would do that. I think it's great.
Annie?
I'm not in there, but who's a lucky winner?
Lucky winner is Lords Douglas? Well, there you go. I need phone number and email. Very good. Congratulations. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I've got business cards up here. If you had questions that you didn't want to ask in this room and would like an answer, by all means, you know, give me a call, no charge. I'd be more than happy to coach you through. Sure.
With being upstairs with like 100 other people and you only have 8 seconds, besides introducing yourself, how do you make yourself stand out? Do you have any tips on that?
You start with that first impression, how you look. It goes a long way to whatever follows, because if that isn't there, they don't pay much attention to what follows. So you make yourself stand out initially by what they see, how you walk in, how you extend your hand, eye contact, you know, whatever you do. And then I would know your skills and then just weave that information through the conversation. Anything else? If not, thank you so much. Good luck to you. You're welcome. Oh, awesome. Let me mark it winner.